Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts, sports journalist David Todd, and from SteelersDepot.com, Dave Bryan. Just a couple of Daves, chillin', talking Steelers. Now, here's Dave and Dave.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Dave, Season 9, Episode 7. I'm Dave Bryan from SteelersDepot.com, and sitting in for my co-host David Todd on this Friday is Alex Kozora. Alex, the Steelers are the reigning world champions right now. They beat the Philadelphia Eagles Thursday night in the preseason opener. What are your immediate thoughts on that?
Super Bowl, let's call it. Steelers have won it. Hey, I had the stat last night. This is the most points in the preseason opener the Steelers have had since 2005, when they beat the Eagles, won the Super Bowl that year. And someone else reminded me, in the year before, the Eagles and Patriots had met in the Super Bowl. So I think it's just destiny at this point.
well, there you go. There you go. Thanks for coming, everybody. Thanks for listening. Look, this is the first preseason game of 2018, and quite honestly, generally these things really aren't that entertaining. But I got to be honest with you, I found myself entertained by that first meaningless game of 2018 last night.
Oh, I was too. It's just good to have football back on the television, and for us to evaluate, and for people that weren't at camp to see some of the stuff you saw at camp, and for me to see things that might have been different at camp, guys that played better, guys that played worse, and just good to finally be here and have football the rest of the way.
All right, they won the game 31-14, and obviously you and I watched it live, and I have watched it one other time through. I don't think you have, right? So you're going off of the main view, and I'm going off of one review that I got to admit I had to power through it quite quickly. So we'll obviously get deeper into some evaluation here of the game, over the course of the next week. David Todd and I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit more on Monday. You and I will perhaps on one of these special edition podcasts talk about it a little bit more in depth as well too. But let's go kind of just off the surface view of this and some initial things that stood out. First of all, a little bit of housekeeping. B.J. Finney suffered, what did Mike Tomlin call it, a contusion?
Quad contusion.
Yeah, quad contusion during the game. It doesn't sound like it's anything serious. So we'll see what comes out of that. It doesn't sound like anybody else was seriously injured in this game as well too. So that's always good. Mike Tomlin did caution that some of these things can crop up a couple days after the games are over. But health-wise, it appears that they came out of this game fairly good. I think we'll kind of start with the offense here and Landry Jones opening things up. Landry for the game was, 4 for 4 for 83 yards and a touchdown. 71 of those yards came on a deep pass down the left side of the field to Juju Smith-Schuster. That came on a free play, and I don't want to take anything away from Landry Jones here, but in fact I'm writing this up right now to be on Steelers Depot probably by the time people listen to this podcast. Is that play was that big explosive play touchdown was a result of the Eagles being offsides, and Juju admitted after the game that that's one of the things that they look for. And if you look at the replay of that, both he and Darius Hayward-Bay, the two wide receivers on the field for that play, as soon as they see the defensive lineman jump off sides, as soon as the football snap, they take off deep. And while the throw was a little bit underthrown on Landry Jones' part, it was out there. It did give Juju the opportunity to at least make the catch. Rasul Douglas, the cornerback from Philadelphia, misplayed that ball probably as poorly as anybody that you'll see. Juju went up and got it, and he's in the end zone for a touchdown. So that play aside, Not too much to talk about as far as Landry Jones goes. He did complete his other 3 pass attempts there. I think the big takeaway about his time in the game was the fact that he was sacked a couple of times, and one was on David DeCastro. I think Fletcher Cox is his kryptonite, and the other one was poor recognition and pass protection by James Conner.
Yeah, I think there were several issues on that play, though. I have to look at it again, but I don't think Connor was the sole issue. No, yeah, and the interesting thing, and Tomlin talked about it after the game, is that they coach up those free ball situations, those free play when the defender jumps. That's something that Ben does a great job of with his hard count. I think Ben did maybe his best job ever last year with the hard count and getting guys to jump off sides. And they're coached, to stay with the play and capitalize on it. And I've heard that the rules this year and the refs are going to be quicker with the whistle on some of those plays. So it's really imperative for the Steelers to recognize that immediately, so the blocking's good and they can get that play off. So yeah, that's just a veteran play you're going to get from Landry. And for all that concern about Juju and Fortnite and the fame and blah, 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 he's fine. You saw it. He's fine.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's for him to go up and make that play says a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are the type of, if anything, make sure you come down with that football. But I mean, not only did he come down with it, but he scored on top of it there. So, other thoughts on really the play of the first team offense. Let's see, who do we? What was it left to right? Villanueva, Matt Filer, B.J. Finney, David DeCastro, and I think Chooks started at right tackle there.
Yeah, because Gilbert just had the birth of a child, so he was excused for that. Pouncey was held out, no surprise there. Foster's still hurt. It was rough going the first 2 series, so much so that Tomlin went against his plan and adjusted and put them out there for a 3rd series that ended in the touchdown. But I thought James Conner did well. I thought his pad level was good, his explosion, catching out of the backfield. The one pass protection was a little iffy, but I think there's a lot of blame to go around on that play, to be honest with you. So you just saw the burst and you saw the power that he had, and I thought it was what he's shown for the most part in training camp.
Yeah, and you'll probably be breaking those sacks down as the week goes on here. I don't know if you're gonna you should probably be able to knock them out here in a couple of days, probably in one post there. But that was really. I thought Connor ran hard. I thought Matt Filer stuck out a little bit at left guard on a couple of those early series on a few of those runs. You'd like to see Connor be able to power over people, and he did that in this game too. I mean, he only 4 rushes, 25 yards in this game, and I think he had an early reception for 9 yards as well too. They used Samuels as a pass catcher one time, and it's something that we saw them do with him, or North Carolina State do quite a bit when he was in college there. Split him out wide and run that kind of quick wide receiver screen, and it didn't go for much there. But I think the most surprising aspect, and probably not overly surprising, because you had reported so far during training camp they've had the 2 backs on the field at one time, but that the fact that Connor and Samuels were on the field at the same time.
Yeah, no surprise there. And like I said, I think when you get into the regular season and when Le'Veon Bell's with the team again, you're going to see, moments of that. I don't know how often, and it won't be super frequent, but you'll see Connor on the field. You'll see Samuels on the field. So no surprise there to see him give that look.
Well, you got a lot of trains.
Planes,
trains, and automobiles. Hey, that adds a little ambiance, I think, sometimes to this podcast. But any other kind of overarching thoughts on the first team, that was thrown out there? Chooks, I mean, I got to admit, I haven't had a chance to look deep into his play, and I'm sure that'll be one of the film rooms that Matthew Marksey does this week as well too, centering in on him. I mean, it wasn't awful, right?
No, I looked a little deer in the headlights early, but I didn't think it was awful. No, I thought he held his own. He played a lot of snaps and played both tackle spots as well.
And that's one thing I wrote for the game. Will we see some swing tackle out of him? And we actually did. I think the only other thing that stuck out to me is they pulled Villanueva left to right one time, and his guy ran right past him there on one of those plays there. But overall, I guess kind of what you probably a little less than what you hope for out of the first team offense, minus the deep touchdown to Juju Smith. Would you agree?
Yeah, Dave. With my other thoughts with the first team offensive line, I agree. I thought Fowler did well. I thought some of his drive blocks and base blocks were excellent. The other guys were pretty much, you don't even pay attention to because, you know what you have in DeCastro. Mostly what you had in Villanueva. I just want to look for a better start to the season with him. But my focus, of course, was mainly on the second team guys.
Okay, and speaking of kind of the second team guys, rattle off the left to right from on the offensive line.
Oh, I'm trying to go back to my memory bank last night. I mean, it was Rodgers.
Was Rodgers on? Didn't Chooks go to left? After Villanueva?
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. I'm getting myself mixed up. So, yeah,
when Chooks, Filer,
Patrick Morris ended up coming in after Finney went down. And then I think Parker Collins might have come in at guard. And then Rodgers at right tackle.
Yeah, I know Rodgers at right tackle. I'm trying to remember who was at right guard there. But regardless, Joshua Dobbs comes into the game. At first, overall, look, I mean, the touchdown pass that Dobbs had to Patterson late in the first half there was easily the single best throw I think Dobbs has made, other than the touchdown throw to Hunter last year during the preseason. Right? I mean, that thing was where only Patterson could get it. And, of course, the big talk on that play was the actual catch by Patterson. But I'm trying to remember protection issues or whatnot. Did you have did it? And we'll look at this further, obviously, as the week goes on. But looking at the second team offensive line overall, did you have any initial thoughts on that?
I thought overall they did a good job. What were the sacks for? Rudolph got sacked twice. Dobbs didn't get sacked at all. So I thought the rest of the group did well to close out the first half. Yeah, nothing that was striking that I thought. I mean, I'm sure there were some mistakes, but nothing terrible. Did you agree?
Yeah, Dobbs made a couple of throws that he got away with, I thought. He did obviously have the interception in the game, and that came right after the Cameron Sutton interception there.
Mm-hmm.
That interception. I'm trying to roll that back through my head. We'll have to break that one down.
That was the crosser. I think it might have been the Patterson. He threw that just way too late. That ball should have been out much earlier.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're right on that one there. And the touchdown, like we said, that was a perfectly placed or a nicely placed ball up high. Patterson makes a good catch on that. I think one of the things that kind of stuck out was Fitz Toussaint had a nice 17-yard run somewhere in there. Showed a nice burst through the hole, and then obviously being able to slam that thing in there down deep for the touchdown was another highlight of his. He carried the football 7 times for 29 yards with a long of 17 and a touchdown. The Dobbs kind of the read to the left there. I could do without seeing a lot of that, obviously. Ridley, when was Ridley in there? He caught a couple of passes in that second half as well and had a couple of runs. Nothing big. I think he had a long of 7, 10 total carries for him, 14 yards with a long of 7. And I think he had 3 receptions in the game, and I think his receptions were the biggest storyline with him.
Yeah, I mentioned, Ridley and Toussaint in the video I did last night that went up this morning for Steelers Depot. I thought both were impressive, and I thought Ridley showed some of the juice that makes me, entertain the idea of keeping 4 running backs. I think did you have 4 running backs in your 53, Dave?
I did, and on this last one, I had them keeping, I think, Ridley in addition to Samuels, Connor, and Bell.
Yeah, so and I think the roster construction might make that a possibility. But to go back to Ridley and Toussaint, I thought they played well, but you'd also expect those guys to play well because they're established veterans. They're going to be at a different game speed and a different play speed than most rookies and second-year guys. So, they did play well. You give them the appropriate praise, but you understand that they're going to play a little faster than everybody else.
Okay, anything else kind of stick out? I mean, obviously, Damon Patterson is a guy that we've talked quite a bit about since he was signed after the team's rookie minicamp. I mean, he made a move, and he made his initial move last night, and you probably weren't overly surprised by the way he played in that game based on what you've seen in training camp so far.
Yeah, not overly surprised. I had some concern coming into this game because he had faded that second week at camp. He got off to a super hot start, really impressive, and then just had some drops, some bad days. So you get into a stadium and you're not quite sure what Damon Patterson you're going to get, the guy that had the super hot start or the guy that's kind of faded after that. Clearly, you got the former. You got the guy that came into camp with a great start. And his body control, his route running seemed crisp. He won on a variety of different routes, dig cuts, out routes, that vertical ball for the touchdown. He looked impressive, and you can definitely see why he's practice squad material. Running down punts as the gunner, just like he did at Youngstown State. So, again, a unique skill set, a big playmaker. And that was a heck of an adjustment because that ball from Dobbs I thought was a little behind him, and Patterson had to kind of contort himself to go for it. So that was a great play. And, you see why this guy's got some potential.
Yeah, and then the backflip afterwards.
Yeah. Can you do that, Dave?
No. I wouldn't even. I'd end up in the hospital if I even attempted to try something like that. What else do we have? Tucker, a couple catches, 14 yards in the game. He was downfield. Talk about the guys showing up on special teams. I had and I usually do this every year, before the first preseason game. Talk about 8, 9, 10 of the younger guys that really need to make an impact on special teams in order to in addition to their own regular position play, because it's such a big part of making the roster as a young guy, and especially either a former undrafted guy or one of these futures guys. That's usually how you end up making this roster here. Patterson, obviously, I don't have the stats yet, as the snap counts as far as how much he ultimately played on special teams, but we did see him out there, and Tucker as well too, and he had the big down punt in the first half of that game.
Yeah, he did a great job. I think he had the opening tackle, or the tackle on the opening kickoff, and then he downed the punt at the 1. And as we've said before, and as Mike Tomlin told Bob Labriola, Steelers.com, that the way that most of these guys, that are outside looking in or squarely on the bubble, the way most of those guys make the team is through special teams. And I thought Tucker did well there and needed some good news after, I thought, a rough start to camp and suffered the ankle injury that knocked him out for a couple of days. How about James Washington? Two catches, 44 yards, had that great high point of the football from Rudolph, just like they did back at Oklahoma State. And even the other catch he had, where he sat down in zone coverage, showed the quarterback his numbers, and made a catch in traffic, I thought was a nice rep as well. So maybe not as flashy as Patterson, but a good day for James Washington.
And I think the thing that stuck out about that one Washington catch that you just referenced is it came from the left side,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that was one of the things that stuck out on his tape for the last 4 years, is that like 98% of his snaps came on that right side and really out wide on top of that. So we knew that they would have to start moving him around. And look, it's not like he didn't catch any passes at Oklahoma State from the left side. It's just you did not see a lot of it, and that's one of the things that you knew was going to have to happen at this level, and it looks like it is. Very smart kid. The contested catch from the contested catch on the right side was another free play situation there. That fits his MO. That's the kind of stuff that showed up on tape with him, is not only his ability to get deep, but his ability to go up and make kind of the contested catches, and the ability to really run the entire route tree. So, yeah, statistically, 4 targets, 2 receptions, 44 yards. I'd definitely take that in a heartbeat with him. And going a little bit further deeper, was there anything else that kind of stuck out to you about Dobbs? Statistically speaking, outside of the long pitch and catch to Patterson, his average intended air yards, I know it's a little bit early to start worrying about that, but I think I think it's important to kind of follow along with these things as the preseason goes, because I think it gives you a true representation instead of just looking at total passing yards there. His was I think half of what Rudolph's was. And in fact, I put his completed air yards up on Twitter along with Rudolph's, and like I said, outside of that long pitch and catch touchdown to Patterson, he really didn't push the football down the field. Talking about Dobbs.
Right, and that's not always a bad thing. I don't know exactly what all other options he had on the play. Checking it down and getting 5 yards is fine with me. I just thought it was a little shaky. Even the touchdown pass, it was a good ball. He climbed the pocket, showed velocity, but I feel like the ball placement wasn't perfect even on that one, and Patterson had to reach back for it instead of throwing it to the upfield shoulder. But just the ball was coming out late. Just the ball placement, some of the stuff underneath, he almost got picked on another pass, I think on a short curl to the right side, I believe. It just hasn't been as crisp and as consistent as I kind of hoped it would be for a guy going from year one to year two. Maybe I'm being too hard on him. I'll get your thoughts on what you thought about Dobbs, but I just thought it was just a little off.
Yeah, I'm going to go through and chart these, so I don't want to give any hard. Look, I thought this showing was better than his first one last year.
Well, it's a low bar.
Low bar. And his second one against the Falcons as well too. That the game, that was the game he threw the 2 interceptions early on. Now, obviously, the interception we already talked about that he had last night's one that he probably should have got the ball out quicker there. The touchdown, it could have been a better placed ball. I like the velocity on it.
Mm-hmm. It was a good play overall.
I like the recognition that he saw on it. And once again, we're not going to see any all 22 on this, so we're going to have to go off of a lot of TV tape angles. And fortunately, when you get, we'll have 2 different versions: the Eagles broadcast and the KDKA angles as well too, but even then we'll be kind of limited on there. But not awful, but I don't want to say he was the best quarterback of the night for the Steelers, because neither he nor Landry Jones were, to be quite honest with you. That distinction went to rookie Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, I thought overall for Rudolph's first time out, it was good. Not great. Ball security's got to be something that's emphasized with him. That forced fumble really should not have happened, but I thought... And
the thing about that is he's got that's sort of his MO as well, too. He's got a slightly smaller hand, I think, than what you would like to see. And a couple of times during his career at Oklahoma State, you see him lose that football when either sacked or under pressure or whatnot. So I was not shocked to see that, and that's something that like you said, Mike Tomlin stressed before the game. Ball security with guys coming after him was going to be a key element of that, and that fumble alone, put definitely a black mark on his performance.
Right, but I think going past that, and it's an important issue to get worked on, but I just thought the moment didn't feel too big for him. I thought they got in and out of the huddle pretty cleanly. Only had to use one timeout to settle him down and I guess correct whatever issue they had pre-snap. The quarterback center exchanges were mostly clean. The one bad exchange, you got to clean that up, but everything was clean from a quarterback, running back, handoff standpoint. Just commanded the huddle. Not looking lost out there, not guys being out of place. And I thought he showed velocity when he needed to, showed touch when he needed to. The ball placement I thought was excellent, even on some of the incompletions. There was, I think, a throw down the right sideline, I believe, to Damon Patterson, where there was some possible pass interference, and it was thrown outside shoulder, right near the sideline, right where the grass meets the chalk, and the ball fell incomplete, but it was a great ball placement. So, for a first time out, I thought it was a good performance.
Yeah, and once again, I'll be charting these, and I probably paid more attention to his ball placement than I did the other two in this game. But I think you're right on that deep one down the right sideline to Patterson. I thought the ball placement was great there. I think Patterson could have done a better job of getting on top there.
Yeah. Probably.
So that's one thing to look at. He did have the drop by Tevin Jones, right, on a 3rd and what was that? Do you remember?
3rd and 9, I think.
But even that was, that wasn't going to get a first down, right? In fact, I think the passing distance on that was 0 yards. I think it was just back to the original line of scrimmage. But it was a drop. nonetheless. So that's one of his, what did he have, 5 incompletions? So that's a drop was one of his incompletions. The pass down the right side to Patterson, which I thought Patterson could have done a better job of getting on top of there, was another incompletion. I know another one was that skinny post to Patterson, and we need to go back and look at that as well, too. I think that Patterson has a lot of wasted movement in that route.
Yeah, I agree. That's a great point. I thought he just didn't sell the vertical outside move well enough. He just kind of was staring down the post in the corner, jumped on it the whole way. So I don't know if it was even an issue of wasted movement. You got to put your whole body. A head fake won't work in the NFL anymore.
You got to step on those defenders' feet.
Mm-hmm. You got to really sell that outside, get that corner to start to open up. I think I have to look at it again, but I feel like Patterson just was telling the DB, "I'm running the post. Don't worry about going, fade to the end zone or anything like that."
Now, my view on it, and I might be wrong. Like I said, we've only watched this, half. I don't want to say half-ass. Oh wait, I just did. But just due to time constraints here. But my initial take, at least on the replay of that, was there was so much wasted movement in the route that it threw the timing off. So We'll go back and look at that. I mean, that could have been 6, right?
Mm-hmm. Could have been. I think there's work for both guys on that play.
All right. Do you remember the other incompletions?
There was one. He was about to get sacked. He threw it at the feet of whoever the back or the tight end was. So I think probably 2 complete incompletions where he was just under pressure trying to throw it to anybody.
And then there I'm trying to – okay, the Tevin Jones was a drop. The pass down the right side to Patterson was completed. He had an incomplete deep right. He had an incomplete short left to Patterson. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was another under siege, just trying to throw it at his feet kind of play.
And then he had I don't know how he got that one into – who was it, Ridley? Was that the one? The short?
That the screen?
Yeah.
I think McKeever for a 3-yard gain.
Okay, maybe that was it. He did have an incomplete short right to Tucker too. I'm drawing a blank. That was right before the timeout. Do you remember that one?
I don't, but that might have been another pressure play.
Okay, the McKeever. I see the McKeever one here. Yeah, I think you're right. That all came in that late that sequence there with the deep right to Washington. Of course, that came after the timeout and all like that. The good thing about it is his air. When you look at his intended air yard numbers and his completed air yard numbers, he was pushing the football down the field. So we'll go back and see how I thought he did a good job on a couple of his reads. Now, look, we caution everybody, don't read too much into this because they want to see guys do certain things in certain situations. You saw him under center a lot in this game, and I know that's one thing that they wanted to do with him because he just did not do that at Oklahoma State. And he ran a lot of fast offense there at Oklahoma State too. So for him to go, I thought I sensed a little bit of nerves at first when he came into the game, but I thought he settled down quickly. I thought other than the aborted snap there later in the game, I thought that the center quarterback exchanges were good. Of course, the fumble, strip sack, we already talked about there. But overall, I mean, I'd grade it, I think, a B+, huh?
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. I might go with just a solid B. I'm sure there's a lot of small things to work on. But, I thought, and you had the quote from Kevin Colbert back on the Friday Night Lights practice, and Colbert pointed out that, Rudolph's pocket or movement within the pocket is really strong. He's not a mobile guy outside of it, obviously, but he's a guy that's able to create space within the pocket. And even on that James Washington reception for 35 yards, sliding to his left, feeling the rush, stepping up, making a good throw downfield. So you're just seeing some of the stuff with that I've occasionally seen in camp where he's able to navigate the pocket well. And I care about your movement within it than I care about movement outside of it. If you can move within the pocket, that's what Tom Brady does. That's what Peyton Manning does. That's what Ben does now today. You can be an excellent quarterback even without great mobility overall.
Where you're at right now between these backup quarterbacks, look, Jones is still the number 2 guy. Nobody's going to dispute that. This next game, though, would you play with the order now? Would you let Rudolph follow Landry Jones into the game?
I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't have minded if they did it last night. So I guess it's just going to be their determination. But I know the snap counts are going to be generally the same overall. But I'm okay with Rudolph getting that look as a number 2.
All right. Anything else stick out to you offensively throughout the night?
Anything else stick out? I think that was the bulk of it. The tight ends were dreadful and nondescript as usual. How about Justin Hunter only getting 1 target, 1 catch? Maybe that was just bad luck or whatever the case is. But usually for a vet guy like him, you can put up some big plays, and this is his time to shine. If there's ever a time to shine for Justin Hunter, so only 1 catch, which was a low ball on, I think, 3rd down. A little disappointing for him.
Yeah, and I think, with the hype around Tevin Jones there towards the end, these last few training camp practices, to come out there and have a drop, Look, I mean, I realize that wasn't probably going to be a first down, but you've got to take advantage of those plays. All right, let's switch over to the defensive side of the football now, and Bostic started. We admitted we didn't know which way that was going to go there, but he started next to Vince Williams, but it didn't take long for us to see both Bostic and Tyler Matakevich on the field at the same time. I think the early thing that stuck out was the missed tackles. And Artie, Bostic, Morgan Burnett, all guilty kind of early there. You hate to see a couple of those big plays result of that. I thought Bostic settled down okay. He had a couple of nice plays in there against the run. And I'm trying to think what else here. What did you kind of think about the early couple series there defensively? You hate to see you get crushed on the backside on a few of those plays, especially when you had sort of the penetration that you had.
Right. I thought that there were some problems with the run fits, with guys processing a little too slow. The Eagles do some different concepts that, the Steelers don't always see in practice. The Eagles wham block. They take the tight end and block the nose tackle. They do that more than anybody in the NFL, and the Steelers don't do that at all. So that's a new look to work on. But the tackling, which had been strong in camp, was not particularly strong with that starting unit. So that's got to get cleaned up, obviously. I thought some of the run fits, could have been better. Too many big holes for the running back to hit. So a bit of a work in progress for that group against the run.
Did you think that they settled down a little bit?
Yeah, but did the Eagles go with their backups or?
They had a lot of their second teamers in there. From what I remember there, but didn't I thought Kelsey was in there, right? And I thought Hargrave had a good snap or two. What was the deal with Hargrave seeing so much action?
I have no idea. I was screaming at my TV. It was mid-3rd quarter he's still playing out there. Tomlin, does he know he has other guys on this roster, or does Hargrave make him mad? Yeah, that was a very dumb decision.
Yeah, they wanted to get a long look at him or give him a lot of snaps for some reason. I thought he had some quality snaps in there, but at the same time, I saw him get moved out on a couple of those runs out of the middle. I mean, it'd be nice to have some all-22 on that. I'm not going to dwell on a lot of that, but we saw some Edmonds down in the box there. Quite a bit, obviously, during the game. So Burnett before that down in the box. The interception, the early interception by Cody Sensabaugh. Did you smell a trap, a cover 2 trap there? And, it looked like a little bit of, just simple rotate the free safety high to that side and a little pattern reading. And shame on Sudfeld for not seeing such a really a tipped off simple coverage, right?
I couldn't completely tell if it was just cover 2 or that 2 trap. It felt like 2 trap because I didn't see the Mike Backer bail out and get depth. But yeah, 2 trap is basically the corner's reading 2-1. If the number 2, the slot receiver, generally runs an out route, you're going to pass off number 1 to your safety help, and you're going to undercut that out route by number 2 and jump on it. That happened with Ross Cockrell against the Ravens years ago. Artie Burns has almost gotten a pick off of it against Cleveland, I think, last year. So yeah, that's what happened with Sensabaugh there. And I just love the overall opportunistic and the aggressive mentality of this defense. You get 3 turnovers, 2 picks, and a forced fumble recovery, in addition to, I guess, another sack in there as well. So, just the aggressive defense that you've seen in camp. And again, that carried over to the game, and that's what you want to see.
Yeah, I mean, it was that play was a vert on the outside and a out from the slot.
It's 2 trap.
And it was 2 trap, and Sensabaugh said after the game, they just rotated up to cover 2. So I mean, it's very simple in my opinion to identify, and I think you've broken that 2 trap down like once or twice on the site at least, and you'll probably end up doing it this time as well too. As the week goes on there, but look, I mean, that's what you need to see. You can't be penalized for making plays that you're expected to make, even though the opposing quarterback should have seen something, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, he made the read and he finished the play, and that's all you're looking for. And again, I don't even care. I care less about the fact that Sensabaugh got it, but just I feel like this year, and we'll see what happens, but I feel like there's a lot more talent in the secondary. They're going to be more aggressive, whether that's a Tom Bradley thing or a Keith Butler thing, or more likely both. But I just think you're going to see a defense that's more opportunistic and be able to create some more splash plays.
All right, shall we attack the red elephant in the room?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Tyler Matakevich.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you, Dave. Do you feel like John Bostic's the starter week 1 after today, or do you need to see more?
I thought that was going to be the case from the moment Bostic was signed.
But you wavered a little bit when you saw Matakevich getting a longer look,
well,
right?
I mean,
or did you not waver?
No, I mean, I've been go back and read. I mean, no. I mean, I said we'll see this play out. I understand why they were doing what they were doing with this. I mean, I understand why they have taken the process that they've done. It's Matakevich. To me, I understand them letting Matakevich lose the job. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I think he's doing that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he didn't even start last night, which was a bad sign. I thought Matakevich was going to start.
I thought he was too. And I kind of cautioned on the podcast and a few posts, don't be surprised if don't freak out if Matakevich starts this game. And he didn't. And I don't know what that says, but it's not good. And neither was Matakevich on about three plays specifically that I know of, and one was a run where he just out in space, he just about had his ankles broken, and another one was down there where he had an opportunity at a sack, and that resulted in a touchdown.
Right. I think when you couple the fact that he didn't start plus didn't play particularly well, that's a bad combination. Now, to be fair, Bostic had his struggles too, but I thought Bostic got a lot better. I think even on the same drive that he had his problems, missed tackles, he had a couple tackles for losses. And Matakevich did save a little face. He had a forced fumble that the Eagles recovered, so I want to give credit where credit is due. But when you combine the fact that I thought Bostic was the better of the two, I thought Matakevich's issues were more magnified. The missed sack opportunity that led to a touchdown, Mike Tomlin pointed that out right after halftime talking to Missy Matthews. That does not bode well for Matakevich's future as a starter.
I agree. I mean, he's a hell of a special teams player. And look, Bostic's play last night is not going to get him to the Pro Bowl either. But when you talk about a guy, and we've talked about this several times, the experience and his communication last night, Bostic's was evident on the field with the pointing and all like that. Not that he's making the right calls, or we don't know what the calls were, but I mean, you can see things that we've seen on tape, especially last year with him and the Colts. Now, it's going to be important for these guys to build on this. Now, I mean, we're not going to make rash decisions off one game, but what we saw out of Matakevich is kind of what, things that we kind of thought that we might see.
Right. And I agree. I feel like, and I said this before, that Bostic's going to be the week one starter, and I think that's probably where most people are at right now.
What did you see on the second interception?
I think it was some miscommunication with the receiver and quarterback. I think the receiver broke more to the inside, the ball went outside. But again, it's just about being opportunistic. Take advantage of whatever slight miscommunication there was in the route, and Sutton comes away with a pick. So you're finishing the play. And I know that it's a fairly easy-looking interception, but it doesn't always happen like that. Guys don't drop the football. They see it late, whatever the case is. Steeler fans have seen that song and dance before. So just to finish the play, get a good return out of it. They get 13 interceptions in camp. You get 2 in the first preseason game. I love seeing that stuff.
All right, the big touchdown from Sudfeld to Gibson. That was Deshaun Phillips out there on the left side that got ran past. What did you see there?
It's hard to see from the KDKA local angle. I think Phillips was on the outside, and he's played outside in camp. He's more of a slot guy. Gibson's a burner. Phillips' long speed is not what he's known for, so I'm not surprised that he got beat there. Obviously, it's a bad rep, but that's not really going to be Phillips' game. He's going to be a slot guy, a more quick than fast type of player.
And there was only one deep safety on that, right, in the middle of the field.
I think, and they were rotating away, I believe. So it was just an isolated matchup. I mean, bad rep, but it's not much you can do, to be honest about that.
Right, it's mano a mano, and once they see that, I think, I can't remember, did Sudfeld look the other way first on top of that? And then
I'm not sure.
I mean, it was, he just got run past as a well-placed ball, and the other team gets paid to play as well. So anything else stick out kind of defensively? Any of these kind of backup guys? I mean, we obviously have to look at the snap counts to see who got what. But what else stuck out kind of in the second to third string guys?
Oh, we got to talk about my boy, whose name I think you actually can pronounce better than I can right now because I think I've been saying it wrong. But Danier, Ola Danier, the sack force fumble, 92. He's looking like James Harrison out there.
Good point, and I'm glad you brought that up with him as well too. You already broke down that sack already, right? And yes. There was kind of a chop. I mean, the chop really wasn't. The chop wasn't all that dominating, right? I mean, it's just that he did that and followed it up with the edge, right?
Yeah, you're just helping to knock the hands down to the tackle just so he can't get a good punch into you. And once you establish that, Denier was able to rip and get under him. Now, to be fair, and I wrote about it in the post on Steelers Depot that you guys can check out, he was going against the Eagles version of Christian Scotland-Williamson, their rugby player playing left tackle for the first time. So there's some context there that he's not going against even a guy that did this in college. He's doing it against a guy that basically is doing this for the first time in his life. But still, it was good technique. He turned the corner when he made the play. So again, you're just capitalizing on opportunity. You're being efficient. You're being quick and violent with your hands, and then you're finding the football and finishing it off. So just a really good rep from him. When you're 6'1", you're going against a tackle that's 6'8", you're going to win that battle more times than not.
Yeah, and the fact, I mean, that he did turn the corner, and look, I thought the quarterback should have stepped up. I thought he had a little bit of room to step up in that as well, and probably should have. I mean, a lot went on there, but heck, you don't penalize a guy for winning. And I thought he had, didn't he have like 2 other nice kind of run stops?
That's what someone told me. I don't remember seeing it, but I'm sure that it happened. And again, I thought he played the run well in camp. I thought he did well against the pass. He was on the teams. He did run down some kicks. I don't know how well he did, and it's going to be probably tough to tell based off the broadcast view. But that's the big thing for him, of course, is his ability to cover.
All right, so a great first showing for him. Anytime that you make a play like that, I mean, you're going to stick out. So, yeah, I mean, he did look a little bit kind of like a young, because of his build, and obviously because of the number and the finished, the finished or the results that he, the couple of plays that he made. He did look like a little James Harrison out there. So that's quite a bit of big shoes for him to have to fill here, but it'd be nice to watch and see how he builds on this moving forward. Now, you had Keon Adams on your loser list.
I did. I just feel like I didn't see much from him. One, he didn't start, which is what happened in camp. It was Farrington Huguenin that got to start with Anthony Chicklow on the right side, and you would conventionally expect Adams to be the starter, but I'm sure they have a good reason why he didn't. I feel like the play was nondescript. Someone told me he had a couple pressures, so maybe I'm wrong. If you saw it, Dave, let me know. That's why we go back and really pick this thing apart. But I just I'm glad he played because it was questionable if he was or not. But I just feel like it wasn't that stellar performance you want to see.
Yeah, and Farrington Huguenin, boy, he lost. He looks a lot trimmer. That one play over there where he dropped on the left side and then on the screen and it explodes forward. That was nice to see.
That was. I'm glad to see some physicality and some power. I want to see that as a pass rusher. I saw one bull rush attempt that just went nowhere. My worry with him is that he's going to be a speed guy and an edge guy to try to win the corner, but he's not that good of an athlete to consistently win that way. And without a threat of power, he's like a worse version of Bud Dupree. So, you want to see some power in his hands and his punch with his bull rush. But yeah, I thought he moved well, and that was a great close and rally to the football on that throw to the flat.
Okay, what else do we have to talk about as far as secondary or anything? Brian Allen did suit up for this game, so that was a positive. I know he was kind of probably regarded as questionable heading into this thing, but he made the field. Anything else stick out to you defensively?
I thought Marcus Allen kind of threw his weight around, which is what you would expect from a guy like him. Malik Golden had a breakup on a throw to the end zone late in that one, which, again, you saw some of the free safety traits that's got him in camp and I think makes him someone that I'm interested in keeping on the practice squad. Those are probably the big things that stuck out. Matthew Thomas, you see anything from Matthew Thomas, Dave?
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't. I haven't zeroed in on him yet.
Same.
So I can't really kind of speak on that. And I know it's tough to do a winners and losers right after a preseason game like that. So that's not a hard and fast rule, I'm sure. When it comes to guys that you had on your list there. The special teams penalties was on that list, and I do agree with that.
Yeah, what was it? Twice for illegally landing over the long snapper. Now, someone said that those were bad calls. I don't know. I didn't see him personally. I know Josh Frazier got tagged for it once. I don't know who was tagged for it the first time. I think it was. But yeah, you want to clean that up. A lot of penalties on special teams overall, which again, to be expected. You got a bunch of new guys with new rules trying to figure life out, and that's going to be tough. That's going to create some issues, but definitely things that need to get cleaned up for the start of the regular season.
Okay, what do you got planned for this week now?
Just gonna go through the tape. Just as I know you are and everyone else at Depot is going to do. I'm not even sure where I'm headed next. I want to watch some of the trench play more, just because it's tough to watch those guys live because you're not quite sure who's in the game or whose responsibility was this. It happened so fast, so that's something to look at there. David, you want to talk about this? And I hesitate to use the word, but this deflate gate nonsense that apparently crept up last night.
Yeah, and Howard Eskin, who. Look, Howard Eskin's well known over the years, radio personality in Philly. The thing is with him, though, is he is a more, how shall I say, who's the guy on First Take?
Skip Bayless?
Yeah, he's
or
more.
Stephen A. Smith?
Yeah, yes, both.
Fair enough.
He's more of that than he is an actual,
he's no Adam Schefter.
Right, exactly. He's more of a shock, I guess, more of a shock guy than anything. I mean, he's been around forever, and anytime he posts anything newsworthy, you have to report it, and that's exactly what I did late last night. Eskin reported during the preseason game there was at least one Pittsburgh football found that was very deflated. The NFL, the football are investigating the football. He says he saw the football after the incompletion, and it was like a marshmallow. That ball was evidently later. It was reported that it was one that happened, I guess, in the second half with Mason Rudolph. Now, since then, the NFL has come out and said that all footballs were in compliance with NFL rules following the pregame inspection process, and all proper procedures were followed. In the third quarter, a football that was found to be defective was removed from play and will be sent back to Wilson for review. It sounds like one that had a defective football, right? And that's it.
So essentially a non-story. Is that what you're saying?
Right, a non-issue. It looks like right there. So sorry, Patriots fans. This is not going to be on this. And shouldn't because of the way the process is with this thing now. Anyway, doesn't this eliminate? Unless some official doesn't do their job pregame, isn't the rules kind of set up where teams can't do any of this?
Honestly, Dave, I have no idea. I tuned out all that Deflategate stuff about 4 seconds after that story started, so I have no idea what the procedure is, but that sounds right.
Yeah, so in other words, they're not going to lose a draft pick here, folks.
Right.
Okay, we'll get after breaking down this tape a little bit more moving forward here. Like we said, Alex will be back at training camp on Saturday, right? Tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow.
Then you and I will have another wrap-up podcast, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about what we saw on tape and from this game as well. In the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can follow David Todd on Twitter at David M. Todd. Follow Alex Kozora at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast at gmail.com. And if you like what we do, go to SteelersDepot.com, hit that donate button, upper right navigational bar. And as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Dave, and today, Alex Kozora.